welcome to the 10th episode of Demystifying Blockchain. I hope you guys are excited to hear from our guest today because we have a lot of amazing folks in as guests today. So, today we'll be talking about the opportunities for students in blockchain. So, over the past several weeks, we've learned a lot about blockchain. We've learned about several concepts in blockchain like NFTs, DeFi, DAOs, etc. But what do you do with all this knowledge, right? You have to implement it somewhere. And there are tons of programs throughout the world that cater to students who are specifically wanting to go in the blockchain domain, right? So today, to talk to us about what they did as fellows and interns in several programs, we have with us Priyansh, Harsh, and Monica, who will be sharing their experiences with us about their internships and fellowships. So, without any further delay, I'll just bring them up on stage, and they can introduce themselves. Hi Priyansh, hi Monica, hi Harsh. How are you guys doing?
Hi, bro.
Hi.
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing great as well. Thank you very much for joining. We've been having a lot of traction in the chat. A lot of folks are excited to hear from you guys. So thank you very much for joining. So without any further delay, let's get started with the session with the introductions. So why don't we start with Monica?
Sure. So, hey everyone, I'm Monica and I'm an undergrad student studying information technology. Um, yeah, that's pretty much it.
Harsh, do you want to go next?
Sure. Hi everyone, this is Harsh. I'm a third year student at Triple IT Gwalior. I'm studying computer science and I took part in the LFX program last year.
Priyansh?
Yeah, sure. First of all, thanks, Guna, for having me. I'm really excited for this. So, hi everyone. My name is Priyansh Rastogi. I have just completed with my pre-final year of engineering at Triple IT Gwalior, India, and I have been into blockchain space from quite some time, around an year, I would say. And throughout the journey, I have had diverse experience of working as a blockchain freelancer, open source contributor in Bitcoin and Lightning space, and as a blockchain developer in one of the leading blockchain security companies. And yeah, like currently I'm working on some Lightning stuff through the program summer of Bitcoin.
Awesome. That sounds really cool. Before we move on to your fellowship and internship journeys, why don't we get started with how did you enter the blockchain space? How did your journey in this space start? Priyansh, you can start off.
Yeah, sure. So my blockchain journey started in the year 2020. So that was when I got to know of this technology that okay, something like blockchain exists. But yeah, like I started working seriously on it from mid of 2021. So initially, like it was a bit rough for me initially. Like at that time, there was not much awareness, at least in India, and I didn't know any of my seniors in college who were doing blockchain, so I didn't had any guidance at that time. But right now, I think it's much more easier to get into blockchain. There are so many fellowships and all. So yeah, like in my second year, I started learning about blockchain. Just followed some YouTube tutorials from DAP University, some blogs, and started coding some smart contracts. Like at that time, I didn't even know React also, so I was much into CP and DSA stuff. So I started learning React also because that was important for integrating with 3JS and making calls to smart contracts. And yeah, like by that time I made my profile on some of the freelancing platforms as well, because I knew that there is no Indian company in blockchain space right now. So I have to get some foreign clients because that's where the major development in blockchain space is happening. So yeah, so for around a month, I kept on applying to jobs, but didn't get any jobs because like for in the initial years of any new technology, every company or startup wants to hire experienced people. Like at least they should have experience in traditional software engineering, if not blockchain. But I was just in my second year and I didn't have any industry experience also. So yeah, like I was the searching went on, and throughout my search, just one day I came across a job which was basically a survey conducted by a PhD scholar from a foreign university. It was in Finland, I guess. So the survey was about the challenges the developers face when working on blockchain related projects. So actually, that job was closed, but somehow I managed to get the email ID of the job poster and wrote an email to him that, hey, I'm just getting started with freelancing. Would you mind hiring me for this job for half the price you mentioned, and maybe give me a good rating to improve my profile? So luckily, he agreed and opened the job for me. I completed it, and he gave me a 5-star rating. And so now I was a bit confident that at least now I have a good rating on my profile, so I would get some more clients. But things didn't turn out that way, and I didn't get any job for around an year. So it was after 1 year that I got a good client. So they were building some on-chain asset management platform. So I worked on some Solidity stuff there. It was React front end, Web3.js, smart contracts, and yeah, like after this gig, I never looked back. I got a lot of clients. All were happy, and also thought of opening an agency maybe to scale the business. But yeah, like I deeply thought about it and came to the conclusion that currently I can work only on the application layer of stuff. I don't have uh, I know how things are. I don't know how things are happening under the hood. So I don't have any infrastructure level knowledge about blockchain. I don't know what the structure of the transaction is. What is it made up of? What is a peer-to-peer network? What are gossip protocols? So there was so much to learn. So yeah, so that is when I got introduced to summer of Bitcoin, and that was the turning point for me, because there I learned all about blockchain, the core blockchain thing, and obviously Bitcoin, why is it important, the concept of decentralization, and most importantly open source development. So yeah, like summer of Bitcoin completely changed the dynamics and my perspective about money.
Wow, that sounds really awesome. I totally relate to the part, especially in the beginning of your journey, where, as you said, there was not a lot of guidance. There were not a lot of people who were doing blockchain. And yeah,
Yeah.
hopefully our stream and your experiences will definitely help a lot of folks out there. Next, Harsh, do you want to take it over?
Sure. So, yeah, I always wanted to learn about blockchain, but I was primarily into machine learning and deep learning in my first year of college. And I wanted to get into blockchain. And so, what I decided was last year in my, like, we have to do a summer project as part of our curriculum. So, as a part of that, I decided to do a blockchain project so that I could sort of force myself to learn blockchain in the process. And yeah, so I worked on my project, and I started learning about Ethereum. I started learning about the basics about blockchain, about how things work under the hood. And then I came across this technology stack called Hyperledger Fabric. So this was basically last year, up until last year at least. It's a very niche kind of framework. Not a lot of people know about it. Not a lot of people are working on it, and for that reason, the learning curve for me was a little bit steeper than usual. Uh, but it is a very rewarding experience. I mean, it's a very powerful set of tools, and I think that more people should be exploring Hyperledger Fabric. And actually, because of that project, I got to know about the LFX program by the Linux Foundation, and that's when I applied for it, and I got accepted, and I've been working with them for the past 6 months or so.
Awesome. That sounds really cool. So, Monica, would you like to talk about your blockchain journey?
Yeah, sure. So for me, like I would say I'm still in the beginning of my blockchain journey. I just started like my if I have to talk about like the journey so far, I started like the first introduction to blockchain. That was through your haiku sessions that you took in college. And like for me, like I had attended like other sessions too on different technologies, but the blockchain session especially was something that I really liked, and it felt like this is something that I want to do, and I wanted to know more about it. Um, so like that gave me a start, but then again I didn't really have like any hands-on experience or something. But thankfully like three other friends of mine also really wanted to explore blockchain, so we took part in a hackathon together, and we were all very new to blockchain, but we still wanted to build something, and we built like through that journey, like I mean it was really nice. We didn't know anything, we were just trying to build, like we referred to like a lot of documentations, and we were trying to learn as much as possible and build something. And it was hard. It was really hard, but I really liked the journey, and that's when I realized that this is something that I want to learn more about and actually pursue something in this. And that's when I came across the ETH Women Fellowship. So that was just like a month after this hackathon. And yeah, so like I started filling the application. I was like, when I first saw when I first saw the link, I was really excited, because until then I knew that I wanted to learn blockchain and understand it properly, but I had no idea about how to do it. Like in my case, like I did have seniors who would like guide me. You were there, and like I really had seniors, but it was still different, because like I didn't have like like a particular defined roadmap of sort where I knew like what I was doing was right or wrong. Um, and I knew that fellowship like this would definitely help me in that. So I was very excited, and I filled, and thankfully I got selected. And that really was my learning. Like through the fellowship, I learned a lot about blockchain and got like an in-depth understanding. And yeah, I just got over with the fellowship. So this is my journey so far.
Awesome. That sounds really cool. So, one point you said that you started with a hackathon in order to learn blockchain. So, that's something even GitHub Education really believes in, right? Taking part in hackathons and learning new stuff. So that sounds really cool. Uh, so let's move on to the next part about where we talk about your fellowship or internship experience. So again, we could start with Harsh this time.
Sure.
So Harsh has been a mentee under the Hyperledger organization in the Linux Foundation mentorship program, if I'm not wrong. Take it over, Harsh. Why don't you give an overview about the program, what you did in it?
Sure. Okay, so the LFX program is basically, like he said, it's a student mentorship program for open source software. It's organized by the Linux Foundation. And under it, there's a lot of sub organizations, as you might have probably heard about CNCF, which is the Cloud Native Computing Foundation. There's Hyperledger, which is all about blockchain. And there's a lot of different other organizations. But basically, my project was under Hyperledger. So let's talk a bit more about Hyperledger. It's basically like an umbrella organization which has a lot of different projects under it, all related to blockchain in different ways. It's different from Ethereum and Bitcoin in the sense that it's basically all about building your own blockchain rather than using an existing one. So it gives you all the tools that you need in order to build your own blockchain, essentially. And yeah, so my project was under a project inside of Hyperledger Labs. So Hyperledger Labs is essentially just a collection of projects which they have, which are under incubation. So they're just different, like a lot set group of people, working on blockchain in a totally different domain. And some of these projects mature into Hyperledger projects. And yeah, my project was essentially about carbon accounting, so about how we can use blockchain for accounting for climate change. And yeah, like counting carbon emissions, holding companies accountable for how much they have emitted. And at the same time, there was also a system for carbon credits, essentially. So if you planted a forest, then you've sequestered a certain amount of carbon dioxide, so you get credits for that. And it created like this sort of carbon market where people can buy and sell their credits and emissions. And yeah, so a little bit more about the program. um, the LFX program offers two time scales. One is a part time and the other is full time. So the part time one is 20 hours per week, and the full time one is 40 hours per week. The part time is 6 months, and full time is 3 months. And yeah, the stipend for both of them is the same. It's $3,000 at least for people from India. And yeah, through the program, I learned a lot about blockchain in general, and especially about Hyperledger, about open source, and yeah, about the community, how to interact with an open source project, and yeah, and so on. So overall, it
Awesome.
was a really good experience for me.
Wow, that sounds really cool. Could you also give any dates if possible, and where
Sure.
can students apply if they would like to?
Yeah. So LFX is basically organized 3 times a year in the spring, summer, and fall. I'd applied for the fall batch last year, which starts in September. The summer one would have just like the applications would have just closed about 10 days ago, actually, and the results came out I think yesterday or day before yesterday. But all of you can still apply for the fall batch, which starts in September. Yeah.
Yep, that sounds cool. So yeah, highly encourage everyone in the audience to apply for the same. Let's move on. Priyansh, would you like to talk about Summer of Bitcoin? The overview of the program, and how can people apply to it?
Yeah, sure. So, Summer of Bitcoin is a global internship program that is focused on introducing university students to Bitcoin open source development and design. So, the selected students work on Bitcoin open source projects for around 12 weeks, where they have a dedicated mentor who will always support them and clear all their doubts. And we also used to have some guest sessions from industry people, so they used to tell us about the on-ground situation of Bitcoin adoption, and some seminars where the entire cohort gets on a call and learn about Bitcoin from experts. So it's mostly like, and it's also inspired from Google Summer of Code, but it is for Bitcoin projects, and we have much more interaction and community bonding sessions, I would say. So if I talk about screening rounds, so we have two rounds. The first round is a DSA based round, and the second one is a proposal round. And so the application usually starts around January, so students can start applying in from January. So the first round, as I mentioned, is a coding test where we just check if the person has a good hold on DSA concepts, because we heavily use data structures like trees and graph in blockchain. Like you might be well aware of it, Merkle trees and hashing algorithms. So, and if you have any previous experience in open source like GSOC, or maybe if you have a very good coding profile, then you don't have to sit in round one and your application will be fast forwarded. So after that, the students who clear round one, they are added in a Discord channel where we provide them all the resources to get started with Bitcoin, and mentors are also present there, so you could participate in healthy discussions and learn about this technology. So I think this is the best thing, that even if you are not able to make it to the final cohort, still you get an opportunity to learn about this technology and clear all your doubts in the Discord channel if you have. So, and after that, you can start looking out for the projects which are mentioned on the website, whatever projects which interest you. We have very diverse projects coming, like all the tech stacks, React, JavaScript, and ML, Golang, all. So you can start contributing early to the project for maximum chances, similar to GSOC. So yeah, like in round two, you need to submit a detailed proposal about why are you interested in a project, and what's your approach to solve the problem, and what will be the outcomes, and how it will benefit the community, like all the work that you would be doing throughout the program. So The proposal is what decides your final selection into the program. And once you are selected, the orange pilling starts and the fun begins. So yeah, that's how the procedure is. And if I want to talk about my experience last year, so I have had a great experience last year. So the Bitcoin community is really great. They are very supportive. They are very welcoming. All of them are very smart. So these people have been in Bitcoin from around 2010, 2011, and all the organizations are also really great. So one such organization is Blockstream. So the CEO of Blockstream is Adam Back, and he's the one behind the proof of work system that is used in Bitcoin mining. And I think he was one of the person who received an email from Satoshi Nakamoto also. So yeah, like the idea of getting a chance to work in such projects and organizations is mind blowing. So yeah, would you like me to
Wow.
talk about my project also?
We can take that question right after this.
Okay, okay, sure.
But yeah, that sounds super awesome. Like getting to interact with people who have literally revolutionized the world. So that must be really interesting. So it's great to know about your fellowship as well. Uh, so moving on to Monica, why don't you give us an overview about the Youth Women Fellowship, how you got in, what are the dates, and how can people apply to it?
Sure, yeah. So the ETH Women or Ethereum Women Fellowship is a fellowship by Devfolio that is supported by Ethereum India, and it's primarily aimed at helping women transition from Web 2 to Web 3. So you don't really have to know a lot about blockchain to apply to the fellowship, but you're encouraged to apply as a beginner. But all you need is you need to have interest in learning blockchain. So there were around 20 people selected out of 3,000 plus applicants, and each of these 20 people were divided into five cohorts, and each cohort had a mentor. So we would basically each week we would focus on one particular topic like smart contracts or DeFi or DAOs or and so on, and we would be given study material and assignments to do. And we would also have sessions with mentors where they could clear our doubts and so on. And there were also a few weeks where we had to present, for example, during the DeFi week we had to present on a DeFi protocol that was assigned to us. And Towards the end of the fellowship, we had to come up with a project proposal that we wanted to build, and the fellowship concludes with us building on the project. The applications for this. So this was in 2022 itself, and the applications for this began during December 2021, and after that, a few people were shortlisted for the interview. We had essay questions in the application, and based on those answers, we were shortlisted for the interview, which was in Jan. And by end of Jan, we got the results. So the fellowship started during the first to second week of Feb, and it ended late April. Yeah.
Makes sense. That sounds really cool. I mean, having worked with so many mentors and transitioning from the Web 2 world to Web 3 world must be really interesting. So it's great to know
Right.
about the Eighth Women Fellowship as well. So highly encourage people to apply to the Eighth Women Fellowship. So moving to the next question, Monica, you can take this up first. How was
Sure.
your experience in the fellowship? What did you learn? What did you build? And yeah, your overall experience with the fellowship.
Okay, I mean, honestly, the fellowship was the best thing ever. So I just finished my second year, and I'm just really super, extremely grateful to being selected in the fellowship, because it has given me it has given me so much growth and so much learning that I otherwise wouldn't have probably gotten. And I mean, honestly, in the beginning of the fellowship, I was pretty intimidated by all the fellows around me and the first week assignments that we were given. So basically, we had to sync a get node on our system, and I had never done something like that before, and it took over a day or two, and it consumes a lot of disk space. And nobody was talking to anyone, so I probably assumed that everyone did it and it was really easy, and I was struggling to do it. So I was like, I was really scared. I was like, I probably don't belong here and everything. But then towards the end of the first week, people started talking, and then I noticed that everyone else also had the same doubts as I did. So we worked together, and then it got better. Um, so yeah, like, I mean, the learning experience that you get through the fellowship, and especially because I was really struggling to like get started with blockchain, and this fellowship, like, it did tell me like how to learn and everything, so I didn't have to worry about what I was doing was right or not, but all I had to do was like learn. So that was really nice, and they provided us with resources, and it was really fun. Like, sometimes I would have like 50 tabs open because like I had to like do the assignment and I had to figure out stuff. But it was a great learning experience, and apart from just learning, you get to connect and like network with so many amazing people in the web3 space, and like you get to learn a lot from them as well. So my experience has been absolutely amazing in the fellowship.
That sounds really awesome. So your growth journey is really inspiring, and I totally believe that it would definitely motivate a lot of people to apply to these kinds of fellowships as well. So thank you for sharing that, Monica. Moving to Priyansh. So Priyansh, could you share something about your project? What you worked on, how did it help the community? And one unique thing about you is that you applied to this fellowship again. Summer of Bitcoin program again. So what prompted you to apply again, and what were the reasons, and what did you work on the second time, and how did that help the community? Please take over.
Yeah, sure. So I'll talk a bit about my project last year. So last year, my project was mempool.space, which is a Bitcoin block explorer and mempool explorer. So an explorer is something which explores, like as the name suggests, is something which explores. So a block explorer means it gives all the details of a block in a blockchain, and similarly, mempool explorer is something it gives all the details of the mempool. So, what is a mempool? So, a mempool is a list of all unconfirmed transactions that are yet to be added in a block. So, if you check out the website that is mempool.space, so maybe you can add it in the chat. So, you will see a very beautiful visualization of the Bitcoin blockchain. So, like this is the live Bitcoin blockchain. So, you will see some blocks on the left that are yet to be mined, and some blocks on the right that are already added to the blockchain. So like there are many other blockchain explorers as well. So what's different in mempool? So the USP of mempool.space is that it not only explores the blockchain but also the mempool, which helps in fee prediction. So if you want to make a Bitcoin transaction, you have to pay some fees, and that fees will go to the miner, and you have the flexibility to change it based on how early you want that transaction to be confirmed. So, if you see before the year 2017, I would say it was relatively easy to get your Bitcoin transaction confirmed, like by just paying the minimum fees, since the market was not very competitive. But in the recent years, the Bitcoin payments market has seen a tremendous growth. There has been a lot of congestion, and with this, the fee market has evolved. So, and many people were totally confused what fees they should pay, because they don't have the idea of how the network looks like. It was a complete black box for them. So, like for a $20 transaction, they were paying $100 of fees, which would have been just less than $1, $0.5 if they would have known the state of mempool. Because without the knowledge of mempool or the network, they don't know if $100 is sufficient or too much or too less. So like this is what mempool.space is trying to solve. So based on the current state of mempool, and by looking at all the transaction fees of all the transactions that are currently present in the mempool, we could predict or calculate what minimum fees we should set for our next transaction, obviously considering our priority, that if we want the transaction to be confirmed fast or not. So I think that mempool or space is playing a very key role in every Bitcoiner's life because it's helping us to save fees. So even I use it when I make any Bitcoin transaction, and the project gets a very good support from the community. And the currently, like, the team is also building a mining dashboard as well. So there you will get all the details of mining, like which miner mined how much Bitcoin, what's their contribution in the network, and what is their hash power, and all the things. So, like, if I talk about my contribution, so I worked on a lot of issues. It was both front end related and back end related. So I had around 10 plus merged PRs. I identified some bugs and fixed them. And yeah, like, it was a great experience for me. So my mentors were really cool. So one of them was from Sweden, and but he really likes watching Indian movies. So there were times when we used to talk about Bollywood movies like Three Idiots, Tare Zameen Par, and all these, like, normal engineering students' life in India. So yeah, like, it was so much fun. And so yeah, like, what's different this year is that this year we are global. So this year we got around 20,000 applications from 51 different countries, and finally 83 students were selected. And this year we also have a designer track for students who are interested in contributing to open source Bitcoin design and UX. So like, we are encouraging designers and UX people to contribute to Bitcoin and make Bitcoin products more user friendly. So yeah, like, now coming to the question why I applied again. So after contributing to mempool last year, I got really interested in Lightning Network, which is a layer 2 solution which helps in Bitcoin scaling. So I really liked the entire concept of Lightning, and felt that this could be something really big. So, like, if you see, the main layer of Bitcoin is not very feasible for daily transactions and for micro payments, and we need something that is fast and reliable, and most importantly, without breaking the spirit of being decentralized. So, Lightning is something which is helping us to achieve all of that in a trustless manner. So, like, trustless means that it doesn't lack trust. It's like, we don't need to trust it. We can verify it. So this is a famous line in Bitcoin space that don't trust, verify. So yeah, like, last year, after the program, I contributed to the project. I started contributing to the project LND, which is a complete implementation of Lightning Network in Golang. And yeah, like, that is what I am working on this year as well.
Wow, that sounds really cool, and it's really good to know that programs like Summer of Bitcoin are supporting projects like Mempool and the Lightning Network, as you mentioned. So it must have been great to have taken part in an open source internship or program, and contributed, as you said, 10 plus PRs to the source code. So yeah, great work on that, Priyansh. It was great to know your experience. Now moving to Harsh, I know you mentioned about briefly about your project. So could you just quickly reiterate on that and talk about your experience in the fellowship as well?
Sure. Right. So, like I said before, I am actually primarily interested in the applications of blockchain which are outside of DeFi, so like outside of crypto and DeFi. And that's why I was naturally interested in this project about carbon accounting. So it's a very different kind of project. It's basically about using blockchain to account for carbon emissions and for accounting for the sequestering of carbon. And it's a Hyperledger Labs project, so it's still under incubation, still under active development. And yeah, so my let's talk about my role in the project. So I primarily helped with the testing of the project, which was basically writing end-to-end tests, writing chain code tests. So chain code is essentially smart contracts in Ethereum. It's chain code in Hyperledger Fabric. It's We wrote end-to-end tests, chain code tests, API tests. I helped with the CI/CD system, which is basically to help them check the PRs before they get merged, make sure that it's not breaking the system. Apart from this, I also help them to migrate the database. So they were currently working on a centralized database, which was CouchDB, and we migrated onto a peer-to-peer database, which is OrbitDB. You might have heard about OrbitDB. It's a decentralized database, and yeah, we are using that right now. And there are talks about making integrating this technology into an app or something, so that people can track their own personal emissions. And yeah, it's all about decentralizing and having to being able to have a trustless system for carbon accounting. And along the way, I learned a lot about Fabric. I learned about testing, API testing. I learned about a lot of testing frameworks in JavaScript and TypeScript. And I learned about DevOps concepts. I learned about how to document my changes. I learned about how to communicate with my mentors, how to communicate in an open source project effectively, and how to present my work. So I think those are a lot of useful and essential skills that this fellowship taught me.
Awesome. Like your project about carbon accounting sounds really unique and something that could potentially do a lot of benefit to the community and to the world. So really awesome work on that, Harsh. So let's move on to the next question. We can start with Priyansh this time. Priyansh, could you brief us about the benefits of the program? Why should anyone even think of joining these programs? What are the incentives?
Yeah, sure. So I think there are a lot of incentives. So first is like these programs give you an opportunity to explore the open source development, and believe me, like you get a lot of learning while contributing to open source. You grow as a developer because some projects have a very intense review process. So you get to know even about the minute details of the code and different approaches to solve a problem, and all those discussions that happen in the GitHub chat, GitHub comments and threads. It's really helpful, and that's what frames uh, the direction of the PR. And also, you learn how important documentation is in software engineering, because documentation is like very important in software engineering, and especially in open source we do a lot of documentation, because we want new contributors in the ecosystem, and it should be easy to onboard them. And specifically, if I talk about some more of Bitcoin, so you get to learn about Bitcoin, build a network with Bitcoiners all around the globe. You get to earn Bitcoin, so you get a stipend of $3,000 that is paid in Bitcoin, and you also get a hardware wallet to keep your crypto safe, and some cool goodies. And there are also job opportunities as well. You can become a full-time open source contributor, or join a Bitcoin company. And above all, like you get a chance to contribute to the monetary revolution.
That sounds awesome. And one more benefit is to get to meet awesome people, like you mentioned, Adam back. So,
Yeah.
yep. So that sounds really cool. Thank you for sharing that, Priyansh. So, moving on to the ETH Women Fellowship. Monica, do you want to share about the incentives and benefits that students would receive from joining this fellowship?
Sure, yeah. So, like, I think one biggest advantage of uh, ETH Women Fellowship, or any fellowship in particular, would be the growth. Like in terms of learning, in terms of networking, everything. So, like, I mean, for me, like especially, like I mean, it's really advantageous for people who are new to blockchain but like really want to get into it. Fellowships are a great way to start. And like I mean, learning and everything. And especially, like, I mean, you get to learn from people, like super talented people in the Web3 space itself, which is a great thing. And like they're there for you, like, to clear your doubts and anything. So like you have like a community with like-minded people who are also interested in the same thing that you are. So it's really nice working with them. And um, yeah.
Yeah, that sounds really awesome. I mean, having a community to learn from, that sounds really, really cool to me. And once you have this community, growth automatically kicks off. Right?
Exactly.
Sounds really cool. So let's move on to Harsh. Can you talk about the benefits and incentives? Okay, just a second.
Yep.
Sorry for interrupting you, Harsh. So Priyansh has a hard stop at 7:45. So thank you so much, Priyansh, for joining. Do you have any last thoughts before you leave?
Yeah, like I would just say to the all the students who are trying to apply to these fellowships, just keep learning, keep upskilling yourself, try to create artifacts maybe through vlogs or videos, and learn to build in public, keep contributing to open source, and once you have a good portfolio and the right skill set, you will definitely make through it. And I think Guna and the team are doing a great job by creating awareness about blockchain and opportunities in this space. So kudos to the entire team, and thanks Guna for doing this. I hope it was helpful for all.
It was really helpful to me as well and to a lot of folks out there. So thank you so much, Priyansh, for joining. Really appreciate your time.
Yeah, sure. Thank you. Bye.
Yep. Sorry for interrupting you, Harsh. Why
Yeah,
don't you
no
take it over
issues.
now?
Sure. Okay. So yeah, we were talking about the benefits about joining the program, right? So I'll talk about the LFX program. It's basically, like I said, it's either a 3 months or a 6 months program, depending on how much time you devote to the project. And as for the stipend, it's $3,000, the same as Summer of Bitcoin, and yeah, talking about the community. So Hyperledger has a relatively smaller community, but they have a lot of knowledgeable people, a lot of people with experience working in different domains, and so you get to interact with all of them, get to form, get to interact with a lot of other mentees from other parts of the world, which is a really good experience, especially while writing code. When you're writing code for yourself, it's different, and when you're writing code for an open source project which is going to be reviewed by a lot of other people, that's different. And like Priyansh already said about the documentation part, documentation is really important in open source projects, and you learn to write about maintainable code which other people will be seeing in the future as well. um, Apart from this, the LFX program is really flexible. So you get to choose your own deadlines. You get to learn about time management. How do you want to structure your goals? Till what date you want to finish what part? And you get to have open-ended discussions with people about the project. You can pitch in your own suggestions, and also as a part of LFX, at least under Hyperledger, you also get to present your project at an event. So last year I presented my project at the Hyperledger India chapter meeting. They had an event called Blockchain Stories, where a lot of people from all around the world, they came and they discussed about their projects. So there was a project from the Tamil Nadu government. There was a project from IBM Research. So you get to listen to a lot of interesting projects and about what kind of research is going on in the blockchain space. And it's a really good forum for you to present and network with people in the community. So yeah, those are a lot of good reasons for you to join the project, join the program.
Yep, that definitely sounds like a really good opportunity for people to network with developers all around the world, contribute to open source, and get to present your work in front of some really commendable folks. So thank you for sharing that, Harsh. Uh, Moving on to the next question, Harsh, you can take this up first. Uh, could you share about the learning resources you followed? About blockchain, about Hyperledger, and anything specific for the program that you applied for?
Yeah, sure. So first, I started by learning about the internals of blockchain, about how things work under the hood. So primarily, I followed the Ethereum developer docs. They're really well written set of docs. You know, it's very short and it's very to the point, very written in a very easy language. So it's not like it's filled with technical jargon. You'll be able to follow it very easily. Apart from that, for learning Solidity, like you suggested as well, you in fact you are the one who suggested it, I think. There's this like gamified kind of course called Crypto Zombies, which you can follow to learn Solidity. And for as for Hyperledger Fabric, so as of last year, there weren't a lot of resources for you to learn about Fabric. So what I had available to me was the Fabric documentation. It's very in depth, and you can learn about Fabric through the documentation. They also have a lot of code samples which you can go through to learn about Fabric. And yeah, I had a lot of questions in the development of my project. So I asked them on the official mailing list and on the Rocket Chat server, and there were a lot of people ready to help me. So there's always the opportunity to ask questions there. And right now, actually, in fact, I think a few months ago only, they introduced a new university course for Hyperledger Fabric, which is a structured learning plan. So in case you're interested in learning about Fabric, you can go through that. That's a very good resource for you.
That sounds
And
really cool.
yeah,
Yep, yep. Go on, go on.
no, no, no. I just wanted to pass it on to Monica.
Sure. Monica, take it over.
Yeah, sure. So even in my case, like most of my learning came through your blockchain haiku sessions, the hackathon, and my Eat Women fellowship. But like talking about like most of the time, so whenever I had to learn a new concept or something new, I think documentations are the best, especially like at least in Web3. I've always found documentations to be extremely helpful. So most of the time whenever I had to learn something, that was my go-to resource. And apart from that, I also watched like a couple of videos from DApp University on YouTube. And so I recently also read the white papers, and I mean, honestly, like that gave me a very good understanding about blockchain. Like it was very hard. I had to like read it a couple of times, and there were like a lot of new terms for me to understand. But I guess that gave me like a very clear understanding, and that's like one of the best places to read, like if you want to like understand entirely like what blockchain is. And if you like just want to like catch up with blockchain, like recently like through networking and all of that, I got into like Twitter, and I saw like there's a lot of like I mean it's like a great Web3 space. Like if you want to see what's happening and network with people, then Twitter is also like a great place. So yeah.
Awesome. That sounds really cool. Like I keep checking Twitter often as well, and there are a lot of Web3 meetups that people go to,
Right,
and they
exactly.
post it on
So
Twitter. Mhm.
I myself have actually been to Web3 meetups, and I mean, even through them, like it's a really nice place where you can like learn through other people as well. And like, I mean, the thing is, like on the internet, like you can learn about things, but you can like in meetups, you actually like get to know other people's perspectives, and that actually like gives you a new perspective. So yeah, it was really nice.
That's really nice to get to know, your learning journey, and how you're attending meetups and learning new things and learning new perspectives. So this session has been great. Thank you both for joining us. I personally had a lot of fun getting to learn all of your journeys, and I'm pretty sure the audience did as well. So thank you for taking your time and coming on to this platform to share your experiences. But before we leave, do you have any final advice to students, or any final thoughts? We can start with Monica.
Um, so like I mean, I would just say keep learning and keep exploring and like keep applying to any opportunity that you come across. And yeah, uh, I'm still in my beginner phase. Like that is what I keep doing, and I would advise, like, I mean, just reach out to people and network with people, especially in blockchain, because it's still like it's. I mean, it's still in the beginning, initial stages. So, like, you don't really have like a lot of resources or like a huge community, but networking and like just keep learning will like, yeah, like I mean, I guess.
Yep, keep learning. That's the motto. Moving on to Harsh. Any final thoughts and advice to students that you might want to give?
Yeah. First of all, thanks a lot for having us on the stream. It was a really good time interacting with all of you and talking about blockchain fellowships. So yeah, I'll give a bit of general advice for anybody who wants to get into open source as well, and even into LFX, GSOC, any of these kind of programs. So yeah, just start contributing to the project in advance, and make yourself noticed in the community. So ask questions on their chat, ask questions under the comments, under the issues. Ask for clarification if you're not sure what they mean, and take initiative, for pitching in new ideas and suggestions. And a lot of communities have regular dev calls which you can join. So, like in my case, for my project, we had bi-weekly dev calls which we could join. So, like programming calls where you can interact with the developers, see where the project is going, discuss about open issues, and even give your own suggestions. So I would definitely suggest that if you're planning on applying to one of these programs, you should follow all of these steps and get yourself involved with open source projects. So yeah, that's all from me, I think. And yeah, thank you once again.
Thank you so much, Harsh and Monica, for joining us. This has been a really, really enriching episode for me and for all of the audience as well. Thank you for taking your time out and sharing your experiences. Uh, Thank you again for joining. And with that, we have come to an end of this episode. Thank you to all the audience who have joined and who have stayed with us throughout the series and throughout this episode. We'll see you next week. Bye bye.